after last night's dismantling of the Brooklyn Nets, you would think the Dallas Mavericks have a ton of momentum, Jake. And you also realize pretty quickly that tonight's Jazz Nuggets game at the Vivint, where we will be present, we have very good seats. We have been upgraded to VIP, which means we'll be sitting courtside, center court. It'll be amazing. That's a lie. But we have great seats for tonight against the Nuggets. Cannot wait. How important is this game, though? Obviously, you are without Mike Conley. You are still without Donovan Mitchell. You are supposed to get the guy whose leg, apparently, from all the injury reports and tweets in the media, probably being a jerk. Azubuike looks like he has a chance to play tonight.
Yeah.
How important is this game? Is this a must-win for the Utah Jazz?
Well, I mean, I think that must-win is probably strong. You have a game lead. If you lose tonight, you're still tied. It's not like you've lost. It's not like you go down a game or anything like that. So, must-win, probably not. But I think that it'd be great to win this game because I think that would build a lot of confidence in your secondary players that you're running out there right now. Yeah. And I think this is the kind of game, where we're like, yesterday we discussed how Jordan Clarkson went off against the Spurs. Tonight, I'd like to see him go off against the Nuggets. I'd like to see 30 out of Jordan Clarkson tonight. I don't want you to just give me 30 against the crappiest teams in the league. I want you to give me 30 against the best teams in the league because that's what they're going to need to win this game. And it goes without saying, too, that I think, this game is a benchmark for Rudy Gobert and Bojan Bogdanovic. Those 2 to 3 guys, they really need to perform tonight. And the reason I say for them it's important is because it goes without saying, you guys already know where I'm going with this. This is a premier matchup for Rudy Gobert against Nikola Jokic, the presumed MVP of this season. And if Rudy gives up 40 to Jokic, that's not going to be good, dude. That's not that we're going to talk all about that on Monday if that happens.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how you perform in this game. The expectation, and maybe this is over the top, I don't know. The expectation should not be that the Jazz are going to win this game.
Okay.
I think Denver's playing at an incredibly high level. If you've listened to this show at all, you probably know that we hold Denver, the Jazz, Phoenix, and I don't really know who else to hold in high regard in the Western Conference because, frankly, it's a night-to-night equation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those 3 teams, I mean, obviously the Clippers have to be in the discussion, but you have 3 teams at the top of the Western Conference that are very good. My expectation tonight is that the Jazz don't lose by double digits.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be an incredible performance out of this Jazz team. Without your 2 best players, whether Udoka Azubuike plays or not tonight, I think Rudy Gobert's got to have a good performance against, a guy in Nikola Jokic who's going to win the MVP in the NBA. I would like to see Rudy have a good defensive performance against him, which is to say, please don't allow him to score 40 points. Don't allow, and you tell me if I'm wrong about Jokic, don't allow him to freely shoot threes.
Yeah, I think if you're a Jazz fan tonight and you're watching this game, take this, split this game into 2 halves. Don't just watch it as one full game. Like I think this game, if we're watching this matchup between Rudy and Nikola Jokic,
yep.
If Jokic has more than 25 in the first half, this game's going to be a blowout. That's what it's going to be. They need to. The reason I say that is not because Jokic will at that point go for some insane game, but if he's got 25, that tells you their offense is clicking on basically all cylinders, which means that he's distributing, he's locked into his performance, and so guys like Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon and the rest of those guys over on that Denver bench are going to be having big nights.
But my question is, how do you defend him?
Because they're going to play the matchup zone, I guarantee it. They're going to do what they did against Karl Anthony Towns, which is they are going to put Bojan Bogdanovic on Nikola Jokic if he's at the top of the key. If he's above the free throw line, Rudy Gobert is not checking him. If he's below the free throw line, Rudy Gobert is checking him. I guarantee that will get rolled out a ton in the first quarter of this game. The thing that I'm concerned about, though, is that when the Jazz tried to do this before against Karl Anthony Towns in that back-to-back with the Wolves, they didn't stay with it. They made it.
They didn't execute it.
Well, the first 10 minutes of the game, Cat didn't do a ton, but then they went away from it and he started producing. So I don't know if. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm telling you guys that they will roll out that matchup zone tonight. It'll happen.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty important that the Jazz establish some kind of defensive continuity and have a plan that they can execute. My curiosity will be rotation tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Is Rudy out with 6 minutes to go in the first quarter? Because we've seen it. I mean, he in certain games here, he's gotten 4 minutes and then he sits. Are the Nuggets, who I think have the ability to attack Rudy, are they going to attack him and try to get him in foul trouble? What role does Aaron Gordon play for the Nuggets tonight? He has been, bang or bust for the Nuggets. There are nights where he plays 25 minutes and gives you single-digit points.
But why is that? I think it's important we talk about why that is. And that happens not because Aaron Gordon is an inconsistent player. It happens because they play matchup basketball. Mike Malone's talked all about the fact that they don't give a damn what the score sheet says or the box score says. They care about winning the game. And so they've had that culture on their team all season long. They kept that culture when Aaron Gordon came to the team. And Aaron Gordon has embraced that culture. I mean, he's even talked about it. You can find it on, again, I know I tell you guys almost every day to go on YouTube and look at this stuff, but you can find it on YouTube. Aaron Gordon talking about how he's embraced the team mentality. He wants to win a championship, and he's willing to do whatever it takes.
Yes.
And so some nights, whatever it takes means that you are playing a lot more defense than you are offense. And that's why I'm telling you, I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again today, this game tonight, watch for the back cut out of Aaron Gordon on the baseline. That will happen, I guarantee you, 5 to 7 times tonight, and the first couple of times they'll get wide open looks on it. And then at that point, then when the Jazz adjust to that, then that's when the game will start.
Well, and I also think the emergence of Michael Porter Jr., it's a handoff between Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. I mean, when you had Aaron, Murray that was healthy.
Jamal Murray.
Aaron Murray. Where did I get Aaron Murray?
I think you were thinking Aaron Gordon, and
Jamal,
you tried to say, yeah.
When you had Jamal Murray healthy, it was a different philosophy. Since he's gone down, I think by design and really out of necessity, this Nuggets team has turned to MPJ and said, hey, we really need you to contribute. Now, how the Jazz react to that is, I think you have to use Royce O'Neal on Michael Porter Jr. because I just don't think that Bojan Bogdanovic can do one-on-one, can do zone up on both of those guys at the top. And that's the problem now. Without Jamal Murray, you don't need to worry about, who the point guard's going to be. You need to worry about which player is going to shoot that three and how aggressively you're going to attack the three-point line against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Because all of those guys, Gordon, MPJ, Nikola Jokic, they all shoot the three really well.
Yeah.
But what we've seen and what that's happening, and speaking of Aaron Gordon, who's talked about this, is the defense is going to dictate what I'm going to do. If the defense is attacking me at the three-point line, I am going to drive to the basket. And Michael Porter Jr. has worked in this hesitation now where it's just killing guys because he the other night did a step back into a hesitation, drove, kicked, and Jokic gets a wide open three.
Yeah.
If he's going to do that, you're not going to defend him. They're going to be very difficult to defend.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that puts you in a situation as a defense where you're running around, and that's why I say, when we talk about how the Jazz are going to approach this defensively, if you're the Jazz, I think the fundamentals of your defense, dictate that Rudy Gobert never leaves the paint. Remember the last time he left the paint? That was when they lost to the Wolves. That was when they blew that last possession against the Wolves. And so I'm telling you guys that Rudy Gobert tonight, I agree with you. It'll be interesting to see how many minutes he gets right out of the gate. If this is going to be a thing where he gets taken out after 4 minutes or if he gets 10 minutes to start or whatever, that's definitely something to watch. But I'm telling you, when you watch this game tonight, watch the space. Don't watch the man, but watch the space that Rudy Gobert plays because he's going to play space. The other 4 guys are going to play man. And then they're going to figure out they're just going to go with the flow with it. So that's why I say you're never going to see Rudy Gobert chasing Nikola Jokic up to the 3-point line because the Jazz know that is not that's frankly no disrespect to Rudy Gobert or Jazz fans. That's just a trash matchup for the Jazz.
He's not got the mobility. And it's not accurate to say Rudy doesn't have the athletic ability. He certainly does. But he is not a drop-step defender.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who can sprint to the three-point line and then take that drop step to go cover the basket, right? That's what makes his Jazz defense, their philosophy so strong and why a lot of times they're very difficult to deal with because team-wise, they play very good defense. But again, this is one of those teams that we always circle on the schedule, whether that be the Suns, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets. You can't just play one way against the Nuggets and expect to win. If you're going to collapse on MPJ, he's going to kick. And they've got knockdown shooters on the perimeter, Murray or not. They've got guys that are going to knock down shots. So you can't just all in on protecting the paint.
Yeah.
You have to have guys that are disciplined to stay at home. And again, I think as Jazz fans and people who watch this show all the time, we've talked about the fact that the Jazz at times completely lose their discipline defensively. And the guy that really leads the defense on this team is not Rudy Gobert. I'm telling you, it's Joe Ingles. Because when Joe Ingles is solid defensively and he keeps that guy in front of him and he uses the hip and the shoulder technique that Joe Ingles essentially has patented, they're a much better defensive team because it allows Rudy Gobert to do his job. Because Bojan's not keeping anybody in front of him. Yeah. Let's be honest. Bogey's not a very good defender at this point. You even look at a guy like Derek Favors. I think Derek Favors is going to struggle to get 15 minutes tonight because this is going to be an up and down game.
Well, that means that Rudy's getting a lot of minutes.
And he's going to have to. I mean, and that's why I'm curious. Do the Denver Nuggets attack the paint in the first quarter? And I think you have to.
They're going to be all in the paint all night. I think this Denver Nuggets team, and you talk about this all the time. This is something that you've kind of you've established, and I think it's a great point that when the Jazz lose games, like in their losses, you'll notice that they lose the point in the paint battle.
Yes.
And I think that the Nuggets are a team that's uniquely set up to do that. Now, that said, everything we've said about the Nuggets, on the flip side for the Jazz, this is a game where if you want to win this game, you can't have the night where you shoot 25% from three. You can't have you can't have the night where you start out 58% from three in the first quarter and then you gradually but steadily go down in percentage the rest of the game. That can't happen tonight because you're not going to get the easy transition buckets like you did against the Spurs. You're not going to get the wide open wing three from Joe Ingles in transition, 10 times tonight. You may get that once or twice, but you're not going to get those easy looks. And so that's why I say they have to shoot well tonight. And again, I'm telling you, Jordan Clarkson better show up tonight because if he doesn't show up, I'm not sure. I don't really know what it looks like for them to win because even if Jingles gives you 25, Bogey gives you 30, and Rudy gives you 20, that's not going to be enough to win the game. I mean, you're still falling short. So that's why I'm saying Jordan Clarkson's got to come out and ball tonight.
Well, and I think it's interesting you also bring up the guards because I think a lot of people have, kind of written off the guard position in Denver because Murray got hurt. But if you look at Campazzo and you look at Austin Rivers now, I mean, Rivers had his best game by far as a nug against the Knicks the other night in a game that, frankly, Denver controlled pretty easily. And a lot of it was guard shooting and the fact that Austin Rivers finally got loose. Now, the other thing that I think we know is that guards tend to get into the paint against the Jazz. So I just think this is going to be a very difficult night for the Jazz. I mean, this is one of those games where I can see it going either way, and I'm curious what Jazz fans think because I haven't read it yet, but I know that Will's already in. Will...
Here we go.
Will wants to know if this is a Nuggets show or a Jazz show. Well, it's neither. It's an NBA show. When the NBA, in big moments, we talk all sports on this show. But that's a question that keeps coming up. Clearly you guys are, yesterday alone, well, you guys are Laker fans. You guys are Suns fans. Pretty clearly, you guys are Suns fans. Come on. This is, if you have not figured it out on this show by now, you probably won't. With all due respect, Will. This is a show where there's an open dialogue. Like, we talk all NBA.
The difference is we're not Jazz fans. We're not going to give you, oh, well, they did amazing in the draft with Trent Forrest and, all these guys. We're not going to give you the sugar-coated, put the spotlight on the Jazz in a positive way. I just gave you guys a breakdown on the Nuggets, and then I just told you what the Jazz have to do to win the game.
Yeah.
It's really simple. So, I mean, it's not either way.
Forgotten Soul says, why would you go to this game? The Jazz are going to lose.
Yeah.
Spot on, friend.
Here's what's going to happen, Tonto.
They're probably going to lose. The Jazz Huddle says, wouldn't say it's a must win, but if we win this game, I think it's sure thing we get the 1 seed.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, if you win this game, that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier when I said that this gives you a lot of momentum. Like, I think it builds the confidence of the second-tier player that's going to have to get some minutes tonight. I think it all but, yeah, you're right. It all but secures the 1 seed. I mean, I think they're already there. I mean, you're more confident in it than I am.
Yes.
Like it would. I do agree that it would take the right word is collapse. Like I try to use that word carefully in sports, but that's what it would take for them not to have the 1 seed at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to. The Utah Jazz would have to go on a heck of a losing streak to lose the number 1 seed. Austin Parkin says, without Conley and Mitchell, the Jazz lose by double digits tonight. The Nuggets are still playing well despite their injuries, and the Jazz are only beating bad teams while Conley and Mitchell are out.
See, I think that narrative is, I think it has some weight to it. The fact that the Jazz only beat up on bad teams. You know, I mean, they struggled to beat the Raptors. They don't.
Okay, let's look at it this way. They don't struggle to beat bad teams. They struggle against a certain kind of team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that certain kind of team is athletic guards and bigs that shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, that just happens to be a lot of teams. But you look at the formula and you look at the teams that they've struggled against, it's not a secret why they struggle against Charlotte. You have athletic guards and you have, athletic bigs, Mikal Bridges or, pick the guards that gave the Jazz trouble.
Yeah.
Why did they struggle in Miami? Why did they struggle in New Orleans? Why did they lose to Philly? Why did they get swept by Minnesota? It's plainly simple. The Utah Jazz struggle when you have guards that can penetrate and kick to big guys who can shoot threes. Who does that sound like? The Clippers, the Lakers, the Nuggets. A lot of look at Dallas last night.
Yeah.
I mean, Dallas last night without Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, if Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to shoot the three even half that well,
yeah,
you're going to struggle to beat the Mavericks if you're the Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's simply the reality of the situation. So I think that the Jazz do not struggle against good teams.
Right.
They struggle against a certain type of team. It makes them feel a certain types of way.
Right.
That's an inside joke with Jake and I.
Yeah.
And I think that is the formula to beat them. If you have guards that are willing to get into Rudy's chest,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have a very long night if you're the Utah Jazz.
Aaron Gordon.
Well, Aaron's a forward.
Yeah,
but he will have no fear. I mean, and again, I'll ask the same question that Tyler asked a minute ago. Does Rudy get dunked on tonight?
I think there's potential, yeah. I do think there's potential.
I think there is potential tonight.
And I think that's, that's obviously Aaron Gordon or Michael Porter Jr. Probably more Aaron Gordon than Michael Porter, though.
Yeah, I think, Michael Porter Jr. has found a nasty streak. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But anyway, my point is, if you look at the teams that the Jazz have recently lost to, the Suns and the Timberwolves,
mm-hmm.
I mean, you have everybody on the Suns shoots a three. You have an athletic big in DeAndre Ayton that, frankly, was able to get to loose balls and win those tap ball situations. Those 50-50 balls went to the Suns.
Yep.
And you have long athletic guys like, Mikal Bridges. You look at, again, Book had a big game. You look at those situations and you quickly realize that's why the Suns struggle. Or that's why the Jazz struggle against the Suns. So, here nor there. Let me read some more comments on the Jazz because I know a lot of you are in. James Knight says, I don't expect Jokic to have a big influence in the paint tonight. He'll just jack up threes. Well,
I don't know,
man.
Man.
I mean, he doesn't, the way he assists, the way Jokic distributes and facilitates for them, he doesn't often have a huge impact. I mean, you've seen him in recent weeks running the break. Finishing on the fast break. If that happens tonight, this will be ugly.
So this concept is as old as the game of basketball, which is you got to knock down the outside shot, which will then make your defender respect that so you can go by him. And that will happen tonight. I agree with James that for Jokic, he's not just going to stand on the block and try to play physical with Rudy. That's not smart basketball. That plays into Rudy Gobert's favor, which is why you never see people doing it. What's going to happen is I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Jokic play at the very tippy top of the paint or right in the free throw circle area of the floor to try to get in between Gobert and whoever that guard is that's going to play him at the top of the key. And I think the mission is, okay, let's try to get Rudy Gobert to come up a little bit so then we can start getting the back cut or just cuts from the wing inside. Because that if you watch the Nuggets, you'll see that Jokic is a phenomenal passer and he's smart. He understands what to look for and what the situation dictates. Like where should the ball be based on where I am and who should be open based on where I am. And so I think with that in mind, I'm telling you, you're going to see that's what makes Jokic special as a player. It's not just that he can shoot at a high percentage or that he can finish at the rim. He's a smart player. He understands what he's got to do to have success.
Yeah, and I think that you have a situation where you're playing a team and a guy specifically in Jokic who you can't give him space, whether that's on the block or whether that's at the three. And I'm curious if Rudy can guard top and bottom tonight. Like that's going to be
I don't think so.
A real question.
I really don't think so. I think what you're going to see when Rudy Gobert's in the game, honestly, like I think you're going to see that they are going to go to, what I like to call a matchup zone or sort of like a hybrid zone. A box and one kind of setup where you've got Rudy basically just patrolling the paint. You've got two guys. You've got a guy in either corner matching up. You've got one guy in the wing, and then you've got your fifth guy on Jokic.
Yes.
And then if Jokic decides to drive, the top defender will let him go, and Rudy will take him. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think that if the Jazz can figure out how to take Jokic's space away, I think that's a proven formula to make his life difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's much more difficult to make passes and shoot threes and get by a defender when he's in your jock. But it's also very dangerous to try and take his space away because it's very difficult to do. And I think it's going to be a great game. That's why I'm excited to go. I mean, it feels like a playoff game.
Yeah.
It feels like a playoff matchup. And we can get some more, cinnamon toasted cashews tonight.
Those were so good.
I just don't.
And we can pay like $6 for a bottle of water, which is always enjoyable.
Truth. Yeah, truth. By the way, I should say that if you haven't been to an NBA event, specifically Jazz, Lakers, if you haven't been to an NBA venue this season, now that fans are allowed back in, go. I mean, especially if you're vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated. Jake's fully vaccinated. Go. The Jazz did such a good job the other night of creating space and creating an atmosphere of enjoyment and entertainment. You had the ushers walking around making sure that people were properly, covering their nose and mouth with their mask, and they allow you to take your mask off while you're eating. But I mean, the lady was patrolling, and a guy had put his drink down and didn't put his mask back on, and she was there probably within a minute.
Yeah.
And he apologized, so fans are behaving like. I think the Jazz have done an excellent job creating an atmosphere to watch the game and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I would tell you to go. And it just has been.
It was great. It was a great time.
Yeah. DW2CB says, I say Jazz have a shot against the Nuggets. Forrest coming into his own. Okay. Now,
this conversation's tired, bro.
DW2CB, tell me what that means, Forrest coming into his own. What does that mean? What does that look like? He also says, Boyan hot and his size against wings, Royce less shy, Oni helping. I think it is always good when you can play your depth, significant minutes. I think Trent Forrest will be fine against a Toronto Raptors team who has guards that are injured and out. We saw that with Lowry.
Yeah.
And Fred VanVleet was injured. And they're not deep.
Now, he played, but
he was injured and limped around pretty much for the second half.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what does Forrest give you tonight? I mean, I would love to see him shoot more freely from three.
I'd love to see him get into double digits, 10 points, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that, 10, 12 points, couple assists.
It's interesting.
Athletically, he should be fine against Campazzo if that matchup ever comes into play. I mean, if it's Forrest versus Austin Rivers, I don't love that so much. I think Austin Rivers is just a better player.
No, Mick says he's been to 3 Mavericks games and it's been lovely.
Yeah.
It has been nice to be back out a little bit.
It's nice. Yeah.
Like, I would not suggest it if you're not vaccinated. I mean, I think you have to be really, obviously I'm a big believer in taking care of yourself, but also taking care of others. Brax12 says the biggest weakness on defense for the Jazz is the pick and roll, which is kind of ironic considering they run it most. Harden to Capella, Jamal to Jokic. Who's next? CP3 to Ayton? Well, and I think we're seeing teams the reason teams are pick and rolling the Jazz is because you want to get Jokic out of the paint.
Yeah.
Or you want to get, Rudy out of the paint.
Austin Rivers to Nikola Jokic?
Furthermore, I think it is.
Or to Gordon?
I think you have three players who can play pick and roll. And I think this is why Michael Porter Jr.'s three-point look is so important. Because he's not making threes, he's snapping threes.
Yeah.
Like he's a real weapon. But again, Steve-O says Trent Forrest emerging means that he is playing with more confidence. Why will you guys not acknowledge his development? It's not acknowledging his development.
Yeah, he's developing, but everybody wants to say that he's sliced bread right now, and he's not, dude. He's not there yet. Again, we talked about this earlier in the week, and I don't mean for us to be beating a dead horse here, but everybody's talking about how Trent Forrest is some amazing development on the Jazz, and he's doing amazing things, and it's no, he's just getting his first minutes in a Jazz uniform. I mean, really, he's getting some of his first minutes on the floor in a game. Yes, he's a nice player. I do give him credit for being a heady young guy. He is smart. He did turn it over a couple times, but I didn't feel like that killed them. It was those turnovers were rather opportunistic by the defense. So I don't feel like he had bad turnovers. My biggest concern with Trent Forrest is his hesitation to shoot the damn ball because he knows his shot mechanics are whack. There's a hesitation in his shot that he has to smooth out, which is why he has a tough time making three-point shots. And that's why I say, I know you guys want Trent Forrest to be this amazing story, and yes, he's a positive. He is developing, no doubt about it, but let's be careful with how far we take the Trent Forrest thing. It's not like it's not like he's going to be on Jordan Clarkson levels or something. He's not there yet. And I feel like everyone's trying to make him into something he's not.
Yeah, he's never scored double digits. I mean, he's a young guy. He's getting his first run. Just obviously his minutes are up significantly. April saw his minutes go up significantly, but looking at his game activity, I mean, he's got to be more aggressive offensively. That's how you learn in this league.
But
I
think that here's the thing. As a Jazz fan, if you're putting all these expectations on him and you're saying, "Oh, he's doing amazing things and we expect great things out of him," and then you see the box, it's unfair of you to be disappointed in him if he doesn't get to double digits. He's such a young player right now. I mean, he's literally, seriously, I'm not trying to exaggerate. These are literally his first NBA minutes. He's just starting out. So,
yeah.
He's a nice story, and I don't mean to put him down or anything, but let's not sit here and say that he's going to have some kind of consequence on tonight's game, because that's not happening.
No, and I think the Jazz have done a nice job getting him minutes, but it's been out of necessity, not out of desire.
Yeah.
And I think when you lose guys like Mike Conley and you don't have depth behind them, you're not doing what Denver did. Again, not speaking of beating a dead horse, you didn't sign Austin Rivers. You didn't sign Mike James. You have Trent Forrest. And I think, again, it's one of these things where everybody looks at it and they're like, man, great job developing your young talent. Well, actually, was it really, if you're a championship caliber team, do you really want a guy playing 20 minutes and giving you 4 to 6 points? I think his defensive want to is there. He's not great defensively.
I will say, though, one thing I will give him credit for is he did a nice job bringing the ball up and getting them into their offense. I mean, I know that's not a huge deal, but it's easy, and frankly, in the NBA, it is easy to turn the ball over, bringing it up. Against NBA defenders, it's easy to turn it over. So right, I thought that he did well there.
But again, I just ask, who have they developed recently? Who's a guard that was a nobody, that was a rookie that they brought in, that they developed?
That was supposed to be Dante Exum, but that never happened.
But Dante Exum again was a terrible draft pick. And he was injured. He never played competitive basketball before they drafted him.
Development of young guys is part of the reason that they're in the situation they're in.
Yeah.
They're a great team right now, but not being able to develop your young guys is why you had to go and make all these trades and try to build your team through the trade market, rather than taking, the Golden State route, which is to do really well in the draft, develop those guys, and build a championship team that way.
Yeah. Let's see. James Knight says Trent Forrest is doing a good job handling the ball and playing solid defense. It allows Jingle to catch a break. Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that. Yeah, I mean that's what I said. Like he's doing a nice
Yeah.
job bringing the ball up. I do the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I do think in that again we were at the Toronto game last Saturday, and I have to agree. I didn't really see him make any like egregious like dumb
Mistakes.
defensive mistakes. So yeah, I mean for the most part. He was in the right place at the right time, but I will say offensively, it's very simple for him right now. He's bringing the ball up, and then he's running to the weak side corner and getting the hell out of the way. I mean, that's what it is, and that's fine.
Why he's got to shoot that three, make or miss. He's absolutely got to shoot it.
And that's why I'm saying I don't want this to come off as a criticism of Trent Forrest. Like,
No.
I'm not criticizing the guy. I'm saying, hey, this is a young player, and that's his role in life right now in development.
Don't put the world on the guy. Like, I just feel like Jazz fans get so excited about it.
Yeah.
Let the guy develop. Austin Parkins says, I'm reserving judgment on Trent Forrest. The memory of the corpse of Dante Exum is still fresh. Yeah, I agree with that. Taylor Healy says, you guys ever go on Jazz fans' website? I do not.
No.
I'm not a chat board guy. Forgotten Souls says Dante Exum, LOL.
Yeah.
Logan wants to know why we're so negative on the Jazz front office. Logan, it's not that we're negative. Again, I'm asking you, when's the last time this team hit a home run on a draft pick? Right? I mean, if you look at where this team is versus where they could be based on their success or failure in the draft, I mean, Dante Exum's a great example. You drafted a kid in the lottery who had never played competitive basketball essentially beyond academy ball. And you expected him to be a star. And that was never going to happen. It's Rodney Hood. It's I mean, all of we could go Alec Burks. We could go over all of these guys that you missed in the draft. And so this is why it's easy to celebrate Trent Forrest because, well, I think he was an undrafted free agent.
I believe so.
You're getting minutes from him. That's great. I'm just
the reason
let the guy develop.
Listen, but also on the front office question, the reason we're also, if you want to call it negative or just critical of what they've done or frankly what they've not done, that's the better way to say it, what they've not done,
right,
is because they didn't do anything in the trade deadline this year. They didn't do anything in the buyout market when the buyout market was deep this year. And they didn't look overseas. And so again, we just keep pointing to all these examples of players that they could have signed. Imagine what this team would be right now if Mike James was taking Trent Forrest's slot on the floor. I mean, this would be a completely different team. That depth would be totally different.
Mr. Mitch says, we all tend to think Dennis Lindsey is unflappable, that he's perfect. He's far from perfect, which is why he isn't the lone decision maker anymore. Well, and again, I think, yes, Trey Burke. Swiderski's exactly right about Trey. Trey Burke left and has turned into a solid contributor. He was not a lottery pick. I look at, and Logan comes back in and says Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Well, how did you get to Donovan Mitchell? Mm-hmm. Well, you had to trade Trey Lyles. And now that's a great deal. You traded Trey Lyles and turned him into Donovan Mitchell. Amen. Fantastic. Does that make Trey Lyles a great pick? No, it doesn't. But it means that Donovan Mitchell is a solid contributor for you.
Donovan Mitchell, the best way to talk about the Donovan Mitchell situation is the Jazz front office did a really nice job taking a pile of crap and turning it into a diamond. That's what they did there. They took a pile of players that they knew that they missed on. They moved those players for a guy that they knew that they could build around. And they deserve credit for that. But our point more is just that we should never have to move a pile of crappy players that we picked up in the draft. You shouldn't be in that position. Those players that you drafted should be on the floor for you. It should be like Gordon Hayward should never have been a Boston Celtic. He shouldn't be in Charlotte. Like Gordon Hayward should have been the guy that you built this organization around. I mean, imagine what it would be, what this team would be if you had Rudy, Donovan, and Gordon Hayward. Those three. What does that look like? Like that, we're talking about a completely different team here.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Rudy's an interesting example. Again, he was a guy that you traded for on draft night. I think he was drafted by the Mavericks, Nuggets, somebody like that. You traded for him back in the day. And what I would say is, hey, that's great. You've developed Rudy Gobert into the Defensive Player of the Year multiple times. Great. I take nothing away from you for Rudy Gobert. The issue is you've missed on a myriad of others. And if you look at the guys you drafted who are not here anymore, I mean, you had a huge investment in time, development, and money in Gordon.
Yeah.
I think you look at Alec Burks. I think you look at Enes Kanter. I think you look at Rodney Hood, Dante Exum. Like, the list is long of missed draft picks. That's my point. Now, have they done well in acquiring guys like Bojan Bogdanovic, acquiring Mike Conley, building depth in this team, and Royce O'Neal and Jordan Clarkson, and yeah, absolutely. And they deserve credit for free agency, no doubt. Acquiring talent is what this team does well.
Scouting is not what they do well, though.
But you acquire talent well, unless you need it, and you don't do anything in the buyout and trade market. That's why I'm saying, and I think it was Logan, or my point, Logan, is that we are not. I believe we are truth tellers on this show, plain and simple. And if you look at that, we've said this about the Lakers front office. I say it all the time about the Chicago Bulls, the New York Knicks. There are so many big market teams that are terrible in their front office. I don't think the Jazz are terrible in their front office. They're good when they should be great. And that's the difference between good and great. Logan also says, LOL, Gordon Hayward. Well, but think about it this way. When Gordon Hayward left here, it was a tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, fans were upset. The blog leak early. How many Jazz fans celebrated him breaking his ankle?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's to the point where Jazz fans are with Gordon Hayward. Has he done much since he left Utah? Not really. Not really. Should he ever have been allowed to leave Utah? No, he should not have. Gordon Hayward should still be a Jazz man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he should still be here. It's that simple. Have things worked out without him? Yeah. Well, sort of. I mean, you've gone out.
I don't know. Did you get to the NBA Finals this year?
Well, you haven't. By the way, speaking of the NBA Finals, how about the NBA on TNT? Here's an interesting question for you. By the way, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you give us a subscribe. Appreciate you guys being here every day. Ernie Johnson, the legendary voice of the NBA on TNT, had an interesting conversation in what seems to be, as Jake pointed out in our pre-show behind-the-scenes meeting, not on the radio. Jake said that the NBA on TNT seems to have a fascination with the Utah Jazz, and Ernie Johnson continued that.
All right, we got Charles saying Denver over the Lakers. We got Kenny saying Portland not in the play-in, and that the Lakers without LeBron will be in the play-in. Shaq says Dallas will avoid the play-in. And me, Utah is going to the finals.
Oh! That's big right there.
Okay.
Drop the mic.
Are the Utah Jazz going to the NBA Finals? I think they have a great shot. I think this is probably their best shot. My biggest concern is who's going to step up next to Donovan Mitchell. And if Ernie Johnson is to be proven right, they're going to have a battle of a lifetime on their hands, because they're going to look at this Nuggets team tonight in the playoffs. You're probably going to have to go through the Suns. Either the Lakers or the Clippers, although I just don't see it with the Lakers this year. Anthony Davis injured again, left the game last night. They got blown out by the Clips.
We get it.
My whole feeling is that this is going to come down to the Clippers, Nuggets, and Suns.
Yeah.
And the matchup that the Jazz wind up in is going to be all-knowing, all-telling. And that's why they need home court advantage throughout, because nobody's coming here and winning 4 games.
Yeah, man, I'm just going to keep saying it. I really, really hope that when Donovan Mitchell comes back that he is 100%, and there's no reservations, there's no hesitancy, there's no, hey, I gotta be load managed coming back. Like, I hope that they just say, hey, he's healthy, let's cut him loose. Let's just let him play basketball. That's what this team desperately needs, that infusion of energy back on the floor. And I just think that, frankly, man, like this team, 100% healthy Jazz team, they can take out anybody. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. The problem the problem is not that they can't beat anybody. The problem is that sometimes they just lose themselves in the middle of these games. And that's why I say maybe Donovan Mitchell getting hurt will be a blessing in disguise, because when he comes back, which is allegedly next week. Allegedly. Don't know if that's going to happen or not, but allegedly it's next week. When he comes back, this team will get set on fire. And when that happens, I do think that we will see a significant uptick in the energy around the team, in their scoring output. And my point is I don't think that could have come if that happens, I don't think that could have come at a better time, headed right into your first round matchup.
Mike says, speaking of Donovan coming back, how does that impact Bojan? Well, I think, and this is just my opinion. Yeah, we don't know that. My guess is they're going to go back to who they were before Conley and Don got hurt, and that was a team that was predicated on making the 3-point shot and allowing Donovan Mitchell to attack the basket. And I think what you're seeing right now is that where Bogey's winning and where he's living is back to the basket, attacking the rim, trying to dunk on guys, which is cool. Not always successful, but his ability to get to the rack right now is what is winning for Bojan. And I think that's going to go away largely because that's not, when you have Conley and Donovan Mitchell, I don't know how you fit that in because Rudy is a guy that takes up space in the paint.
Yeah.
That's what he does. You cannot have Rudy and Bojan on the block. We're seeing that now that Rudy is sliding up to the elbow. The problem with that is that let's say it is Donovan, it is Conley, it is Bojan, it is Royce, it is Rudy. If Rudy slides up to the elbow, where's his guy go?
Mm-hmm.
His guy's not going up to the elbow. His guy is going to play halfway and wait for Donovan to drive, and then Bojan's guy, if Bojan's on the block, Bojan's guy's going to be there. So now it's not Donovan's guy and Rudy's guy, it's Donovan, Rudy, and Bojan's guy. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Donovan's already taken an ass whooping when he drives to the paint. He's always on the ground. I don't know where Bojan's game evolves to. Here's what I do know, and here's a nice thing. This emergence of his low block game back to the basket, his ability to attack the rim, that's a nice little weapon to have. That's a nice card in your pocket.
Yeah.
Because Donovan's not going to be on the floor all the time. My guess is you're going to see a little bit of both. And this is why it's critical. And tonight will be another measuring stick. Is tonight a night where Bojan Bogdanovic puts up 30 more points?
He needs to. If they're going to win this game, that has to be a reality.
But will he? Because this is the question, and a lot of Jazz fans have asked us about this. This is the question about Bojan Bogdanovic. Does he only put up 30 against teams like the Toronto Raptors?
Yeah.
Against the San Antonio Spurs?
Yeah, I don't see him putting up 30 tonight, frankly. If I'm being honest, I see it being an 18 to 22 point performance with 5 rebounds and maybe 2 or 3 assists. That's what I think his stat line is going to look like, and that's mainly because the Nuggets have the size and frankly the brute strength to battle him on the block. I think one of the nice surprises that's come out of this whole thing with Bogey on the block is that he's shown that he has underrated strength. Like, he is a strong guy, and I think that wasn't really. I don't think people really knew that or understood that about him until he started bowling people on the block. And I'm telling you right now, that's why, again, not to go back to Aaron Gordon again, but that's why I think the Aaron Gordon acquisition, if those two match up, is such a big deal because he's not going to be able to push Aaron Gordon around like that on the block.
The guy tonight has to be Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah.
The thriller from Manila. Jordan Clarkson's got to play well tonight.
See what I did there? You see what I did there?
I hate that song, and it's in my head. It is in my head. I said that to my wife last night, and she literally said, "Shut up."
Whatever.
Yeah, that song. That's what is that? A Wendy's commercial?
It's the $5 bag from Wendy's, bro.
I love that song, and I hate it. But anyway, my point is Jordan Clarkson has to be huge tonight. A lot of you are in tonight. Love you guys commenting on the show. Shall Mary Bye.
Who?
We're just going to call you Shal. Says, will you sign Jokic as your QB for the Bears? Well, he'd be better. No, I'm not doing it. No. Why would you bring that up, Shal? Wait, how do you block people? Why would you bring up the Chicago Bears? I was in a good mood. Aaron Gordon going to be on him, says Achille Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
Brax12 says, did you see the report that LeBron James, sat out the last 2 games, not due to injury, but from Frank Vogel? I think James is planning the offseason Bahamas trip. I think the Lakers are in a real bad place right now. And I think when you look at Anthony Davis spraining an ankle last night and then claiming to have back spasms, I think Anthony Davis didn't come back because that game was over.
Yeah.
I think tonight against the Blazers, you think the Nuggets and Jazz is an important game? Lakers and Blazers tonight is absolutely imperative. This game tonight with the Lakers and Blazers will decide I think who goes out early in the playoffs. Because if the Lakers wind up, what's on the line is the tiebreaker and that 5th and 6th seed. If the Lakers wind up in the play-in tournament, I think that road is much longer and more difficult.
It's not their year. I don't mean this from a place of hating on the Lakers. I frankly would love to see them go out early.
Which means he's about to hate on the Lakers.
It doesn't actually. That's not what it means. I'm just saying that I would love to see them go out early in the postseason because I think they need it. They have so many miles on that roster right now from the bubble, and like it's too much. Like you're forcing. If LeBron James can't come back from an injury, an injury he had, if he can't come back from that 100% healthy this year, that should tell you, that should really be a huge red banner sign that this is a problem right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And if I'm the Lakers, I'm not rushing LeBron back. I mean, this is a team that if they can keep them healthy, and if you can get LeBron to be off from essentially May through October,
it's huge.
I mean, they need that rest.
Yeah.
And that's a team that if you give that to them, they're going to win back-to-back championships, or they're capable of that. Casey Finlinson, what's up, brother? He says they need Bojan and JC to perform. Yes, they do. Logan back in says Donovan, O'Neal, Ingles, Bojan. I said Bojan.
Mm-hmm.
Bojan.
Thank you. Bojan, where did his message go? Bojan... Donovan, O'Neal, Ingles, Bojan, and Gobert should start with Conley coming off the bench. I think if Mike Conley's healthy, he is critical to your success.
Yeah, he ain't coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think the dynamic of Rudy, Donovan, and Mike Conley is really difficult for teams to handle because you have two guards who can both shoot the three at an incredibly high level. When they miss, it is good for Rudy Gobert. It gets him into the offense. It gets him into the flow. When, if you look at the way Donovan, and this is the interesting thing that not a lot of people have talked about, and I know we said this the other day, but what have you missed since Donovan left with this injury? You've missed the lob, the alley-oop to Rudy Gobert. Those energy dunks, those game-changing dunks that Rudy will dunk it, they'll get a turnover, kick it to Bojan on the wing, and he'll knock down a three.
You're missing the highlight reel,
man.
And
all of a sudden, you have teams like the Nuggets calling timeouts.
Yeah.
That's what this team misses. Mike Conley's value is that he's got incredibly huge testicles out when the game's on the line. Yes, I said that.
You're welcome.
Try to make your day, friends. And he'll shoot that game-winning shot. Now, last year it didn't go in, and frankly, please give the ball to Donovan. But Mike Conley's not scared to take any shot. That right-handed runner in Minneapolis last week or whatever, the game they lost, that right-handed runner, and then the three to send it to overtime. I mean,
yeah, he was clutch, dude.
Mike Conley's a great player. The problem is you just can't count on it.
And that's why Jazz fans love Mike Conley, and they hate us when we rip Mike Conley. I mean, listen, the guy is a super productive player. He does great things. This team needs him. The fact is you shouldn't have signed him because he's incredibly unreliable, and we're seeing that now. And that's my only critique of the guy.
Louis Diaz says... there's a lot of messages. I really appreciate you guys. Louis Diaz says, I love your show because you're objective and not just loving in fantasy about the Jazz. If everything falls, the Lakers lose in the play-in and Utah will beat Golden State or the Grizzlies for the second round, then we can beat Dallas or Portland. Western Conference Finals against the Clippers. I think Dallas is a scary matchup.
Yeah.
They're not playing Kristaps Porzingis.
Mm-hmm.
Ow, my knee hurts.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this sore knee. Kristaps Porzingis. My wife's got knee pain and she's freaking out because I just said that. But only weak people have knee pain. By the way, I don't have an ACL in my left knee. Anyway, the point is, listen here, friends. Kristaps Porzingis has a sore knee. He's not playing, and look what they did to Brooklyn. Now, Kevin Durant couldn't hit water from the boat in the second half last night, and Kyrie, well, shocker, he doesn't pass. Luka Doncic is turning into an elite finisher, and his bag is so deep. Okay, that came out wrong. My point is that Luka Doncic has a bunch of tricks in his pocket. I'm not going to say BAG again. Luka Doncic has grown his arsenal of shots, and it's really starting to show. And I think you're seeing that the Mavericks are turning into a really difficult team to match up against. And whether it is, Powell keeping possessions alive, Obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. with the 3-ball last night was unbelievable. I think the Mavericks are turning into a team that you don't want to see. And if Porzingis comes back and he is the unicorn once again, because he was actually playing well.
He was dunking, dude.
Yeah, before they sat him down with this knee soreness, he was actually playing well. I think they're very difficult. I think if the Lakers get LeBron and AD back, they're going to be really a difficult out. They're going to be a very. You know what? I want to see the Jazz and the Warriors.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of matchups that are intriguing to me, and I want to see. You know what I want to see? I want to see the Jazz win a championship by going through the best of the best.
No excuses.
I want them to run into a healthy Lakers, Mavericks with Porzingis, Lakers with LeBron and AD, and I want them to put them down. I want them to win those matchups. I want to see the Suns be 100% and Chris Paul not drop his groin on the floor in Houston.
I want it.
And I want the Jazz to beat the Suns when they're fully healthy. My guess is that's not going to happen because the Jazz don't have quality depth outside of. And Clarkson has been so streaky lately. It is what it is. Derek Gray says someone was talking about you guys on Twitter last night. You guys are getting big quick. Good for you. Hey, you know what?
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
You know when you got a major bag and play the song. Anyway, okay, there you go. Are we done with that?
Oh my God!
Have
dude.
we exercised the Wendy's bag alert demon? You guys are never. That's in your head now.
It's over, bro. It's over. I'm so sorry to all the listeners right now.
Right? It is what it is. By the way, Mick wants to know if are you guys ever going to talk Suns again? Yes. Suns and Knicks tonight. Jazz have the luxury of a 1-game lead. The Suns do not. Must win for the Suns? You're late. We're really late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, if you're the Suns, you're really pleased with where you're at after this season. I think you're really happy with what you've done here. But I also, just knowing Monty Williams in the culture of that team, I can tell you right now they're pissed that they don't have the 1 seed. They're upset about it.
Yes.
They're not amused by it. They want it, and they're going to work their ass off through till it's over to get it. And so I think if you're the Jazz, no, it's not a must-win game. If you're the Suns, every game's a must-win game for you.
Every game.
Going back to the bubble. I mean, that's I know that sounds insane, but like if you think about it, you go back to the bubble, it was, hey, we had to go 8-0 just to even have a sniff at getting into the postseason. Of course, they don't make it, but they go 8-0, and that should show you the quality of or the resiliency of that team. And that's why I say tonight against the Knicks, yeah, I think they'll beat the Knicks. I do.
But what did the Suns get out of that? 8-0. They got a much better Devin Booker. They got a guy that developed
Listen, I can't definitively say that, dude. Like, I think he is a better player. He is developing. But listen, what's he going to do tonight? Is he going to give you 30 tonight? Is he going to put up 30 in a big game?
He has. I think he's had a great 2-3 weeks here. He's really stepped up with them load managing Chris Paul. What more? I'll look up his game log.
Pull up the box.
I mean, if you look at Devin Booker's game log, I just don't know. I don't know what more he can do. I'm gonna break that machine. Here's his game log: 30, 31, 32, 31, 21, 33, 36.
Who was the 21 against?
The 21 was against the LA Clippers in a 109-101 win. I mean, he put up 15 against Boston in that loss. That's the game that you started this Devin Booker's a cock thing. I'm telling you that Devin Booker is...
What?
He never said that. It just flowed. We've talked about bags and... No, I'm not going to do it.
What are you talking about,
You are
man?
not going to suck me into this hole.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
See,
wow.
What happened was...
Wow.
If you guys ever want to kick it, we'll flow.
You know, Devin Booker's putting up 30 pretty consistently down the stretch here.
He needs to do it tonight. He needs to do it tonight, and I want his 30 to be meaningful. I want 15 of that 30 to come, in the second half. What do we got?
Terry wants to know if you will quote unquote slurp Book if he does.
Yeah, listen. Hey, man. Hey.
That's a guy who's been listening to this show. Appreciate you. Everybody on Twitter, thank you. The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show on Twitter. Kevin says, I don't understand this whole thing with the Jazz. Why does everybody want to defend guys like Forrest and Conley when it's so clear to the rest of the basketball universe that they're just average guys? Well,
are we clear on that?
Well, by the way, he's a Knick fan.
Woo!
He's a Knick fan.
That East Coast heat's coming into the show this morning.
So he's been around the show since we were in Phoenix, and I broke that Kristaps Porzingis trade news thing with his brother.
Yes.
And he's a really good basketball guy, but I don't think Mike Conley's average. I think Mike Conley, when he's 100%, which is very rare, when he's 80%.
He's very average at staying healthy.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, he is a G leaguer when it comes to health.
Yeah.
But my point is, Mike Conley is a really significant contributor to this team, and they need him to be healthy, and they just can't count on that.
Yeah.
And it's always injuries with this team. Why do they go out in the first round back-to-back years? Well, last year, it's Bojan hurting his wrist. And then what do you see now? Bojan constantly, flexing and playing with the wrist. And it's you've got to stop. You've got to stop with these injury-filled guys. Don't be emotional. Bill Belichick needs to be the general manager of the Jazz because he isn't emotionally attached to guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is, again, not to keep going back to Gordon, but why were you so upset when Gordon Hayward left? Well, you should be upset at what happened when he was a restricted free agent and you let him go visit San Antonio. Shame. That's when this happened. Stop being emotionally attached to guys and look at it from a perspective of, does Mike Conley give us a chance to win a championship? My answer would be no, because he's not going to be on the floor. He's not
I want better fucking execution.
Your best ability?
Your availability.
That's it, my man. Like, I agree with you on that. Mirzinski, good morning to you, Sean. He says that was without Chris Paul. Okay. Brandon Whiteside says Monty is in love with Booker. I mean, I would like to have his children on my basketball team.
I want it.
See that, let's go back. Logan says, okay, look, if Conley comes off the bench and Ingles runs the point, it opens up more touches for Bojan. The problem is point jingles means that we don't get good three-point shooting. And we're seeing that now, by the way. And my guy in Melbourne, James Knight talks about this all the time, that point jingles is not good for this team.
Yeah.
And
it's a necessity thing.
Joe Ingles, and I, as much as you guys, crush me for ripping on guys like Bojan and Conley, Joe Ingles is a vital contributor. He has to have energy because, one, his on-ball defense is actually really underrated. And two, he's an elite three-point shooter. Yeah. And when he's point jingles, he's not an elite three-point shooter.
And those threes that he makes are daggers.
Oh, I mean, he is, yeah. Brylark says, would you rather have Conley or Hayward? Oh, I think the Gordon Hayward that was here before the broken ankle, the guy that left for Boston, that's the guy you want. The guy that went to Boston, you can have that guy. I'll take Conley over that Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
When Gordon Hayward was a Utah Jazz man, he was an elite mid-range player.
Yeah.
And that's what this team is missing right now. They are missing the elite. Like, it's why we need Derek Favors to hit that elbow jumper. You're missing that elite mid-range game. Frankly, without Donovan Mitchell, you have no mid-range game.
Yeah,
it's incredibly important.
Yeah,
it's why Bojan Bogdanovic, that little fadeaway, that's the shot that I use in basketball. That's why I dominate people. Frankly, crossover, step back, blam. That never happens. I do not have that. I do have an incredible fadeaway, and I do have an incredible fadeaway. Anyway, the point is, I've been working with Bojan to develop his game.
Yeah, so you've actually been at the gym giving him a regimen, huh?
No, I'm not going to do it. Anyway, the point is, that's why Bojan's paint game is incredibly important. I just think it really matters. Achille Jean-Pierre says DeMar DeRozan. Elite mid-range
love
player.
DeMar DeRozan, dude.
That's your guy.
Yeah.
Elite mid-range. Devin Booker, elite mid-range player.
It's frustrating, though, with DeMar and with Devin and these guys that are more mid-range players. It's frustrating when that shot's not going in because those are quality looks. Those are, most of the time, those looks that they get are not contested. Like, they need to hit those shots.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, tonight, you will see Jokic is not going to miss those shots. I'd be really surprised.
Interesting, and I think this is a really good point from Pat. He says what we miss about Donovan Mitchell is elite pick and roll. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that you don't see is like Donovan will bring the ball up, he'll kick it to Royce on the wing, and then Royce will come around the top, give it back to Donovan, and he and Rudy then run that pick and roll. And it's where you're getting lobs. It's where you're getting Donovan with the hezzy to the rim or an open look for three.
Yeah.
That's what this team is missing right now because, Jingles pick and roll or, Clarkson pick and roll. There is no pick and roll because it's just Clarkson trying to get a shot.
Yeah.
You're missing that dynamic component in the offense that Conley and Donovan can bring to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, score prediction tonight. You're taking the Nuggets to win, obviously.
110-101 Nuggets.
I think it's going to be 126-105 Nuggets win. I think it is a big
serious?
win. Yeah, I think it's a big win.
Ooh, man.
I think
Dude,
it
if
is.
they get, is it an exaggeration to say that that's a blowout?
I think they're going to get beat badly. I think, and I say that because this is that game where Quinn Snyder's going to be intelligent and he's going to say, okay, we're going to play Rudy 25 minutes.
Yeah, so then the media doesn't talk about Rudy getting his ass kicked.
We're going to manage minutes in a game that we know we're probably not going to win. We're going to manage minutes.
Yeah, I could see that. That's a great point. I could see that. I don't think that's unrealistic. Yeah, I think if. Yeah, man, it's just this is the classic Jazz fan what if thing. But like, I wish this game would be a hell of a game if those two were playing. This would be one of those games where I'm like, man, like this is. Got to watch it front to back. Got to see every play.
Yeah, and again, I also think it's really important that we have this discussion about how you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Let Oni and Forrest get beaten badly by the Nuggets. Okay, determine how you're going to manage minutes in the second in the late third quarter. That to me is where you'll know. And you know what, Rel? I love you, man. Rel's another guy that says the Jazz are just not that good. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're without their two best players.
That's the Jazz suck take, and you got to bring more than that, bro.
They're not. I'm telling you, when the Jazz are healthy, they're very good.
Yeah.
They're not elite. They're very good.
Yeah.
They're hard to deal with. They're hard to score against. They're not that team right now. And I think if Jazz fans will just be honest about that, you're in a lot better shape. Shocker, you picked the Jazz to get beat. Who knew? Well, I mean, who's picking the Jazz to win this game? Anybody picked the.
Does Vegas even have them winning this game?
No, they're like 86-point underdogs in this game. That's not true. That's not true. Let's see what the line. William Hill, who, by the way, did you see that Caesars bought William Hill?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and they're gonna rebrand that. Wow, actually, I lied. Caesars has the Jazz as a 4-point favorite in this game.
It's because they're at home. I'm telling you. So here's my score prediction.
They know it's the Nuggets.
Well, anyway, point is, my score prediction is 110, 103. That's how the game finishes up. I think the game is tight through three quarters. I think the Nuggets probably pull away in the end. And I think that's how it plays out. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Jazz in foul trouble tonight, too.
Yeah. I'm going to go 126-104.
Okay. I don't think it's a ridiculous prediction. I could see it happening. I just think that I think that excuse me, I think that this team is playing well right now, the Jazz, and I think that there's, it could be a bit closer.
Fat Jesus on the money. Jazz 190, Nuggets 41. I see. I was going to say that exact score. Sherwood says Jazz routinely suck against the Nuggets.
Yeah.
You ain't wrong. Logan says we going to make 20-plus threes. Logan, if they make 20-plus threes, I will buy you lunch. I don't know.
Remember what happened last time we did a score prediction on this show? You nailed it. I mean, they got blown out by the Suns.
126-104.
Okay.
All right, let's switch gears because we are way late. By the way, 6 minutes until a big Jordan drop on the Sneakers app. Are you in on this or are you not?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, it's an 11 low.
It's an 11 low on the Sneakers app. If you don't know the Sneakers app,
download the Sneakers app.
Get the Sneakers app. It is.
Just warning you now, I don't want to hear people saying that we caused you not to be able to pay your rent because you wanted all these shoes. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, put a card on file. That's the drop today is the Legend Blue Jordan 11 low.
It is a clean shoe. I will say that. I mean, it is beautiful.
But you know what? There's a lot of shoes that, Like this Air Jordan 5 low that's a week from today, the black
nice.
one. Yeah,
It's the Wings program, bro.
it's the one I want is the Air Jordan 1 Shadow. That's the one I want. James Knight says Ilya Silva could play more minutes tonight. Will play more minutes.
Yeah, he'll
tonight.
play minutes
I don't
tonight,
think
yeah.
there's any doubt. Louis Diaz says Jazz will win this game in 10 or more, guaranteed. What are you going to guarantee it with? You going to put up some collateral or what? James Knight is putting up a keg of 4X gold from what I understand. A keg.
Really?
Just FedEx it over.
Bro,
here.
James, what is shipping like that like coming from Australia, bro? I mean, are we, what are we talking about here?
It's a lie. I made that up. Akili G. Pierre says the game plan will be to get Boyan in foul trouble and Gordon post-ups. That's how the Nuggets got R.J. Barrett last game. Yeah, and that's
Excellent strategy, sir.
And it is, but that's why I said Aaron Gordon doesn't have to score 100 points for this team to win. He doesn't have to score 20 points for them to win. He needs to impact the game, and he has become a passer because you have to double him. There's nobody on the Jazz that can handle Aaron Gordon one-on-one in the post. I mean, your options are Derek Favors. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Bogdanovic, he's probably on Gobert. Jingles.
But you're not going to see. So you're not going to see Aaron Gordon playing on the block though. Like I think with Rudy there, you're not going to see that a lot. I think what you're going to see is they're going to get him the ball on the wing and he's going to operate from that. And I think if that's why the comment earlier, hey, is Rudy going to get posterized tonight? I could see that happening with a Aaron Gordon, boy on switch on the wing.
James Knight said, "Hit the music, Jake." LOL. Because he ain't sending a keg, right? He just
Whatever.
Whatever. I'm fine with it. Real quick, I'm going to talk about the Bayou Bar in Salt Lake City before we get out of here. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on this show, please. And a subscribe if you are not a subscriber to the show, please. We are building to 750. We just gave away an Xbox S Series on this show yesterday.
By the way,
yes.
I mean, we got more coming. Just saying.
750. The plan for 750, which we're trying to announce next week, but it's a matter of a certain product availability. We will try to announce that next week.